everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. I've been doing a lot of pet sitting lately, so yet again, I'm in a different space than normal. It's really great to be able to do something I love, spend time with animals, and still be able to have the flexibility to continue creating artwork. So that's been really awesome. And today I have a little bit of a different video for you. I am painting on fabric. I know I have done videos like this before. Today's gonna be slightly different in that I had a camera kerfuffle in which at first, I was thinking, oh no, like it stopped filming and I didn't realize it until, a circumstance happened where I was checking on it. But I actually think it's human error, it's user error, and I forgot to press record on the camera. So there's a portion of this painting that is missing. Bummer, but you get a good sense from where I pick up. I will have part of this video in real time, kind of just sort of explaining my thoughts and musings about the difference between painting on fabric, especially with inks. I'm using inks for this, versus painting with watery media like watercolor or inks on paper. So you'll get some of my thoughts about that. And then just to save on time, because the portion of this that I did record was roughly 30 minutes worth of footage. Once I get to a certain point, I'm just going to go ahead and condense it down, time lapse it, just to be respectful of your time. Before I get into it, I did want to mention my website, CoreyFrankCreates.com. That is the best way to get in touch with me. You can sign up for my weekly email newsletter. And when you do, you get my free no-brainer watercolor supplies buying guide. It's just really hard to sometimes to choose which materials to buy. So I kind of make my preferred suggestions on there based on a variety of different budgets. So if you're wondering what watercolor supplies should I get, you can get that list for free when you sign up for my weekly email newsletter. Have my online art shop on there, as well as links to registering for in-person classes that I teach kind of around the Denver metro area, as well as my online watercolor courses. I have 3 different watercolor course tracks you can take. So when you're ready to dive in, get more comprehensive with really learning watercolors and what it's all about, from those really kind of foundational principles and basics about how watercolor works, color mixing, color theory, things like that. I would love for you to check those out. That is all on my website, CoreyFrankCreates.com. I would love for you to go check it out. Alrighty, let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so I have my inks in these jars here, and then I'm going to use my size 8 round brush. It's the Silver Limited brand Black Velvet line. If you want to learn more about this brush and some other general supplies I would recommend, they're linked in the description. They are paid links, so as an Amazon associate, I do earn on qualifying purchases. Just be aware of that. But these are supplies I would recommend either way. So, okay, so I'm gonna get started with this. So I just made a heartbreaking discovery. I had no idea. I feel so bad. So I'm just gonna continue with this, but I was working and the dog that I'm dog sitting, called my attention. She was barking a little bit. And so I paused the video, and when I came back, well, actually, I went to pause the video thinking I had been filming all this time that I did this work. And sadly, for some reason, my camera had stopped working. So I feel so bad. All that narration lost and all this work, not on camera. So sorry, you're going to be getting this midway through kind of video. I do apologize. Gotta love the technology when it works, and when it doesn't, it's a little bit of a bummer, but we're gonna roll with it. Gonna keep going. So I've been talking about, I think there's maybe a very, very short portion of footage that I did get, maybe about 40 seconds. So I don't think I even got any of this painting or kind of discussion about what it's like working with ink on fabric. So I'm going to go over that a little bit more here. So when you're working on fabric, it takes a lot longer for the ink to dry on the cloth. So you just have to be careful with blending. If I were to add another color into here, it would just immediately blend wherever I'd already laid the ink down, and it's going to stay that way for quite a bit longer. than maybe it would on watercolor paper. However, the ink here in my sort of ceramic dishes dries fairly quickly. So once it dries, which is the great thing about ink on fabric, once it dries, it is permanent. It should not reactivate when it's wet. So that's why I use this on the fabric. So if someone really did want to use this as more than just a decorative towel, they could wash it and the ink should stay in the fabric pretty decently. The other thing about working with wet media, particularly ink, on fabric is that it takes a bit more time, because something where you might be just very easily be able to stroke fairly quickly in one single line on paper, you have to take a little more labor with it on the fabric, because the fabric takes so much of the pigment in at once. It really makes it not as easy to just do a continuous line without a lot of the white showing through. So you have to be a little more slow and methodical at times with the application. And you definitely get the idea after a little bit of time, just the sort of care and attention to detail it takes. So if you see, if you're ever at a craft fair, art fair, I'm actually painting this in preparation for an art fair this summer. If something is hand painted and you notice the price tag on it and feel a little kind of like sticker shock, well, the reason why is because generally hand painted things just take more time. I think that like most people understand that, but they might not realize how much more time it takes with some of these special non-standard surfaces. And when I say non-standard, like typically you don't think of kind of water media necessarily on fabric, at least if it's not, mass printed. A lot of time when we see our towels or things in stores, those are the kind that tend to be more mass produced with inks from printers. So it's not the hand painted, like every single stroke taken care and given time and attention to. So just be aware of that. The handcraft really does. It takes the time, and it takes time, and the artist or maker really does put a lot of time, thought, and attention into their work. See, just something like this, where this leaf, really having to be careful to stay right on the tip and fill in. It's gonna take a lot longer. Sorry, I was just checking. I wanted to make sure my camera was still rolling. But so that was my creaky chair that you heard just now. But yes, you wanna totally sidetracked myself. Sorry. We just want to make sure that everything gets filled in. Takes a little more work. So that's the beauty of hand painted. All right, I'm getting close. I kind of have added several leaves here, and I do want to start getting into my purple ink, hopefully before it dries. So I've left some of these kind of stems and things without leaves on them, because I did want to have kind of little dotted flowers at the tips. So this is just going to be a kind of purple floral branch type of appearance. And a lot of the time when I do my paintings, I enjoy putting splatter and stuff, especially on just regular paper, things like that. But with something like this, where you can see, especially like these little dots that I'm laying in, they spread so much further than with paper, where it kind of absorbs it in a way where the edges don't fan out and spread as much. So with this, I've noticed that one of the last fabric paintings I did on the same organic cotton towel, the little dots that when I do the splatter, they spread a little more than I would like. So I think for this one, it's gonna look really great for the design to have the little bit more minimal, this kind of minimal branch painting, or kind of floral branch painting, and then the really pure white background. I think that contrast is going to look really nice. So I'm not going to do any of the splitter splatter because that effect on this surface just doesn't quite have the same impact or result as when you do it on paper. You lose a lot of your individual dots. In fact, they start blending into each other. So again, just very gentle. This would have, if I still had all that footage that I lost where the camera stopped working, this would have been a pretty long video. So probably at some point I would have time-lapsed it, just you know, to speed it up a little bit, be mindful of your time. I may still wind up doing that, actually. In this video, if it winds up being pretty long. Some of these hand-painted towels, because I've done several before, can take anywhere from, you know, around 20 minutes on the short end to, you know, something like this will probably be more like a 30 to 35 minute, because I'm taking a lot more time with kind of individual dots and detail and things like that. But they can also take longer if you are doing a lot more. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. I got distracted. I gotta go into my purple, not my green again. But yeah, I've done some that take 2 to 3 hours to paint, just because, again, the nature of this medium and surface takes a little more work to get detail. Can be very peaceful and calming, though. I mean, just to be, you know, not thinking about too much. And especially like with this, I'm not really worrying about referring to a reference image or anything like that. I'm just sort of going for it and being creative with it. Now, if you had gone back several years, I would have not had enough confidence to do like I did. I would paint without a reference image, but I always thought the stuff I produced looked horrible without them. And that's how we learn. The more we work from reference images and from life, especially like if we're looking at a real object or person or figure or whatever it may be, you know, we do get better and can do kind of more things off the book, so to speak, just from our imagination. Now for me, when I want to have something really accurate proportion-wise, and with, you know, accuracy of color, shading, value, all of that, I do still, I will use reference images no matter what. I know. I do think there's kind of a maybe Hollywoodized or just like, perhaps it's more of a pop culture type, message that, like, you know, most artists just work straight from their imagination and they can paint anything and 100% accurately without any type of reference, whether it be a live figure or animal or whatever, flower in front of them, or not. And I have found, my experience is that actually most artists do use some sort of reference. That is more the norm rather than not. It's more rare to find artists who can just paint something completely out of their head and have it look super realistic. I think those artists have a very unique, beautiful gift, but it's not necessarily the norm. So that's, you know, just my thoughts on that idea of just painting straight from your head and your imagination. So if you are someone who's a fairly new artist, or maybe not even a new artist, but you've just like gotten that kind of almost stigma of like, oh, you have to use a reference image or like look at something to paint, I don't think that is anything to be ashamed of. It's very normal, and it's how, you know, most of the for the history of art, that's just how it's been, you know. Someone would have a model in front of them, or the whole idea of plein air painting was to be out there looking at your scene and sort of painting what you saw and then putting your own spin or interpretation on it visually or color-wise. So that's the great thing about being an artist. You get to make those kind of conscious choices of how closely you stick to your reference, as far as, you know, making it really hyper-realistic, like almost a visual reproduction of what you're seeing, or playing around with color and shading and things like that. That's where a lot of the fun experimentation comes in. I think that's great. So, all right, I'm really enjoying these purple spots and dots, and then just kind of sharing my musings with you about about that. So, it is interesting. I just love how this is really full here. It feels a little sparse to me here. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go in with just a little bit of black, and this is now dried enough that I can add this almost as some shading. So the brown has dried, so the black is not just spreading everywhere. Wherever I've laid the brown, it's sticking more to kind of where I'm laying it down. Do a little bit of that, and I think I want to create some more offshoots, kind of just right here. Start to blend some brown and green. Trying to say two words at once. I want to bring some of these like green and purple branches a little closer to the center of this branch. And I think here is probably where I'm gonna time lapse it. I'm not sure how long I've been painting, but it feels like it's been long enough that you really get the idea of what this sort of looks like when painting on fabric. Can see how, even though all this green is still on here, it's dried so much that I had to actually get more wet ink. So that is another challenge with working with ink, is that how it dries on your palette surface quicker than it dries on your fabric a lot of the time. So I'm calling that done. I really enjoy the contrast between the fairly vivid colors, as vivid as you can get on fabric. That's another thing about working on fabric, is that the color isn't always as bright once it dries and absorbs in. It becomes just a little more dull. But it's fairly decent bright colors you can get on fabric. Contrasted against the white, I think it really stands out nicely and would look very pretty in somebody's kitchen. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. Until my next one, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. God bless, and I will see you soon.